Hi, Dee.
Hi.
Welcome to COVID cooking.
Woohoo! Here we are. It's great.
So, for those that don't know, this is Giovanna. She is visiting from the wonderful lands of North Shield, and she is renowned for historical cooking, I would say, and tense. So, with that, she was very gracious, and she coached me through one of these recipes.
We tried it.
I need to go get the book.
That's all
Here,
good.
Talk about it.
We made something. We made two different things, and I think we had a success.
I think so, too.
We learned things, so this is good.
Learned
Yes.
a lot. So it is the Livre de Fort Excellent du Cuisine, the most excellent cookbook of cookery. And on page 109, there is a very short, succinct recipe of great medieval mystery of cooking. Gourds and cucumbers, white gourds and yellow cucumbers. To make gourds, you need milk, white powder, verjuice or egg yolks, cucumbers with egg yolks or milk, put through a sieve with verjuice and saffron, and boiled together.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we definitely had, but we definitely made two dishes. So white gourds.
Oh, this is the white gourds.
Yes.
And it's white.
Yeah.
Ta-da!
Yeah.
And yellow cucumbers.
Very yellow.
Very yellow.
So well, we've tried these. I've tried a little. So I don't eat dairy. So I did try a little bit of the milk. I haven't tried any of the yellow yet. But they both smell good. You said they would both be used as a first course.
Per this book, it is
Yes.
always listed as kind of like the first course pottages, soupage.
And in looking at how it's preparing other dishes in the book, well, other dishes made from these ingredients, they're all similar approach. So, same type of treatment, boiled, mashed up, flavored in some way. Not a lot of flavoring. Well, they are both very flavorful, but they've done it with very little. Wouldn't you say?
Yes, I was surprised by the simplicity.
Yeah.
And the simplicity of the recipe, even though the technicalities of it eluded me, the ingredients I got.
Yeah.
And that was one of the things I was really keen about from a veggie aspect is the ingredients of using the bottle gourds, and then using an overripe cucumber. And so taking something, instead of eating it like the green cucumber we normally do, taking it even past this green stage into a yellow stage. And then I happened to have a whole bunch of yellow or lemon cucumbers, and look at that, just gorgeous, orangey beautifulness. And so we utilized this one, the really super overripe cucumber.
But the thing is that the flesh were the same colors when we peeled them. They were both very white. The color definitely comes from how we prepared them. With just milk in the white gourds, and then with the cucumbers, just egg yolks. And absolutely a stunning color. I suggested that we were making some sort of reduction with the verjuice and the saffron, so that's what we did, and we ended up with this amazing paste that probably wasn't what we were supposed to do, but we're working with it.
I think it's
delicious.
Super tasty.
It's super good. But do you want to go into like all the process now, or?
Sure.
Okay.
Lead on, McDuff.
Well, I think these are both dishes that you would have seen on a slow fire, because it did take a while for the flesh of both vegetables to really cook down until they were at a consistency that was easy to mash. And we did a lot of I think we ended up cooking them both for an hour and a half, and I think we could have gone longer. And we sort of played with the temperatures. We were around 200 degrees Fahrenheit for the majority of the cooking. We initially brought them up to a boil, and then we reduced it down, and so it was like a low simmer for most of the time. And
I accidentally turned it up too high, and I think I cooked the egg yolks too soon. But.
Well, we were using an Instant Pot, and that's a hard thing to adjust temp on. You're kind of stuck. It's like either you're doing a slow cook for several hours, and I think that would work for that. Yeah, but no, I think it's definitely something, and we used a fairly shallow and large pan, so there was a lot of, it was very easy for evaporation, and for, I think it would cook differently if it's in a smaller vessel. And in fact, the cucumbers with the egg yolks were in a smaller vessel for about half the time, and they were they had a lot more moisture. Yes. Which is why we had to cook it down.
Correct.
But we also think that was the instructions.
Yes. It was like cook it, and then mix it all together and cook it some more.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. Because when we first got the cucumbers produced a lot more moisture, even though that they're the super ripe ones, than the bottle gourds.
Yes.
And that was very impressive. So with the bottle gourds, we definitely needed some sort of liquid to help out. So I think full verjuice or full milk might do the best with the bottle gourds.
Yeah. I'd be interested in seeing what that would be like if you did, because we used the whole milk, and I think we ended up adding about a cup and 2/3, a cup and 3/4 to our bottle gourd. And the verjuice, I think we added about a tablespoon or so.
And it instantly curdled it.
Well, yes. Well, acid to milk, yes. It would definitely do that. But I don't think that was bad, because you're basically making something, to me, it reminds me of making armored turnips. So very similar mouthfeel. Armored turnips usually have a cheese, you're using milk or a cream, and you're cooking it down. It's like your medieval au gratin potatoes.
Oh yeah, okay, I was going to say cheesy grits.
Correct, exactly. And then that one, usually you're flavoring it with nutmeg, whereas this one you're flavoring it with ginger. And that is, but I mean, they're similar, very similar mouthfeel. Obviously not the same family, but they have a similar approach to your taste buds. And here's our white powder, with basically starch mentioned near it.
Yeah. We were debating oh my goodness, so the white powder in this book, it's a ginger with starch. And I was like, oh my goodness, what kind of starch are we going to use? Is it a wheat starch? Is it well, it's definitely probably not a cornstarch, and it's probably not a potato starch, but is it a rice starch? I don't know. And then we realized we were overthinking it totally.
Well, especially since the white powder calls for an ounce of starch to go with a pound of ground ginger. We were not going to be making that much, obviously. So we ended up with a tablespoon of ground ginger, and then we added about 1/8 of a teaspoon of starch. And we did end up with potato starch just because we couldn't find a wheat starch and there wasn't a rice starch. I think a wheat or a rice would both work. I would argue that you might be able to make a case for a potato. You certainly have potatoes around in the 16th century, but hard to know. So Skirret starch. Well, I mean, you need some sort of, wheat or rice were both, could be used. Absolutely. But it's so, depending on the quantity that you're making, it's so small that does it even matter? I don't know if it affected, although as this cooled, it did thicken.
It's true, it did. Yes, it went from kind of more of a soup or a porridge consistency, a pottage, imagine that, to it's rather gloppy.
Yes. Not the most appetizing.
No, I think it would be better presented in the inside of a torte.
Oh,
or
yeah.
Like a shell somehow.
Yeah. Well, I think it definitely has that sweet notes to it, and I think you could see this as a sweet dish um, with your first course. Just I'm not sure if they could do a lot of different things with it, and it's hard to know would they serve this room temperature, cold, hot. Hard to know. I think that it would be different anyway, and I think it would be good any of those ways. Yeah.
It's a very neutral kind of. I'm here. I'm food.
It's your mashed potatoes.
Yeah. Oh yes,
Yeah.
brilliant. It's your goopy starch.
Yep.
And
Yep.
that's one of the fun things about the overripe cucumbers is that they have a much sweeter, more melony taste to it. And I thought that really did show through in the cucumber recipe.
Yes, very bright, and I'm really excited to try it with the saffron and the verjuice. So
Is it time?
Sure.
Try?
We can try.
Where'd all my silverware go?
I think we.
Here, I'll scoop you out some.
Okay.
You can use that.
Awesome.
I'll scoop out
Thank
this.
you.
And we'll try some. Would you like some more verjuice on yours?
Actually, I'm gonna try it with what we mixed in. It has such a beautiful color. I mean, it's yellow cucumber. It's pretty thick.
It is. It is.
Yeah, we put it back in the pan so that it would
Kind of
evaporate off.
re-
And I tried basically treating it like a custard since it was egg based, so that when I could push the spatula through, and it would sort of, the pan would be there and it would stay there for a bit, or it would coat the back of the spatula. That's sort of what we cooked it up to, or cooked it down to. So let's see. Oh wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh wow.
That flavor of the really super ripe cucumber is astonishing.
But that has a really interesting mouthfeel. It's not pudding.
Yeah.
But it's my gut's not going to be happy with me with the eggs at all.
And mine's going to be thrashed with the milk. But for science.
For science. For science.
It's really smooth. I think, you do get the egg binding thickening.
Yeah. Yeah, you get that custardy mouthfeel with the egg yolks.
I can't explain this.
Yeah.
I don't know the words.
It's sort of, we're thinking it looked kind of like polenta when we were cooking it.
But I think it's much smoother.
It is. It's much smoother. It sort of looks gritty like polenta, but then you put it in your mouth and it's just smooth, but you sort of have a bit of a pudding texture or a creamy texture. Oh wow.
Yeah, this during the summer is so it would be really so I added some more of the verjuice and the reduction of the verjuice.
Yeah. Let me know. Okay.
No, because then it just turns into verjuice and you lose the distinction of the citrus.
Yeah. So we made a reduction, and what we think we should. I suggested making a reduction. What I think we should have done,
But it's really tasty.
it's super good, is cook the cucumber down in the egg yolks until it was all mushy, mush it up, and then put it back in the pot with the verjuice and the saffron. And then the verjuice would be the liquid that would be cooking out, and that would be infusing. I mean, as it is, we're sort of, 6 of one, half dozen of the other. Yes.
I wanted to compare the two.
Oh, sure.
I feel the cooked cucumbers amplify the characteristics of the cucumbers. So this is still kind of like, I'm almost a cucumber, but I'm a really chewy cucumber.
Right.
For this, maybe it's the acid from the verjuice, but it like really just punches it up to almost that sunshine brightness.
It also just is. It's so creamy. It's really good.
It's real. I'm surprised. Huh.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Interesting indeed.
Interesting.
And you tried the other one.
I should. Are you planning on trying that one?
I can.
All right.
No.
Then I'm going to
That's just going to be too much for me.
put my fork in here.
I've already had a
Oh.
little bit of it.
Look at the.
Oh yeah,
Huh.
nice. So it sat for a bit while we finished the cucumber, and then we reheated it. It's a very different taste.
Completely different.
Yes.
So super, much more savory.
Yeah.
This has a lot of ginger in it, and that
Yes.
really is very forward in
Yeah.
it. So for me, it codes like a ginger cookie.
So this is, we used half of the white powder that we made. And we were thinking, well, maybe we would sprinkle a little on top, but then in the tasting, how's that?
It's gonna be more ginger.
It will be more gingery. It's like, we didn't think that we needed to. I didn't think. Even more? Better?
No.
No, too much?
Mm,
Okay.
you're
All right.
right. That purely becomes a conveyor of ginger.
All the ginger all the time. Hey, maybe that was what they were going for.
Would you like to taste how much ginger I can buy and purchase?
We know they did this. I would be interested if that was like a sugar ginger. If there was sugar in ginger, I think that would be very different. Obviously, that wasn't in the recipe, but
Yeah.
that would be something that I would be. I kept wanting to add salt to things,
Right?
and there's no salt mentioned at all. But it's hard to know. It's like, is it omitted because, well, everyone just added it, or it doesn't need it. It really doesn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's so much better with the and that might just be me,
Mm.
not used to eating the.
Hello.
All the ginger.
All the ginger is happening.
And all the nutmegs and all this. Right. So to me, the gourd is kind of like what we use a zucchini for too, is a
Yes.
bulking agent.
Yep.
Oh, I could try making gourd bread instead of zucchini bread.
You totally could.
That'd be fun.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
And the seeds in the gourd absolutely cooked down. We didn't end up having to sieve those out.
Yeah.
Whereas the seeds in the cucumber, absolutely, that ended up getting in the food mill that we use for the sieving action. There was plenty. All those seeds stayed behind.
Mm-hmm.
But great way to do that because
Almost like a palate cleanser.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe.
Well, if you're serving it on your first course and you sort of have those heavy game pies, as was mentioned in the book, that would be a great addition with that because it's not going to overpower those. And yeah.
Or if you're an invalid, maybe.
Well, that's the thing. This
'Cause
is
it's
supposedly
cooling, right?
this is supposedly a feast item.
Yeah.
But you absolutely could feed this to someone who couldn't eat solids.
Based on the humoral theory of
Well.
the cooling.
Whoa.
Yes. I'm really excited about overripe cucumbers.
Mm-hmm.
And now I have an excuse not to harvest them.
Yeah.
and also now I know what to do with them instead of just dumping them into my compost.
Oh, yes.
Is that you can use them.
Yep. Yeah.
Just like, yeah.
Yep. And we peeled these when we were cooking them down. So we took all the skin off, but just rough chopped them about the size of our thumb, like 1 inch cube, and then just cooked them down. We used the whole milk for the gourd that we bought at the farmer's market this morning. Delightful. And the eggs, we started with 6 egg yolks, and I was worried that maybe I had put too much in. But then with the next step of cooking it down a bit, I think that was fine. I was surprised because that was all that we cooked it in. And it wasn't too... I was never worried that it was too dry. No. It's amazing. It really is amazing.
Whether this was supposed to be or not,
We're-
this is high on my...
We're going to put that as a success.
Whoa. It's like the balsamicness of bear juice.
Yeah, it's a balsamic reduction, 100%.
It's a little powerful by itself.
It's a little on the tart side, yeah, but I mean that color. I mean, hello.
Oh, that was gorgeous.
Yes, and that color is all from those egg yolks.
So, G,
Yes,
on to your question of ANSing.
Yeah.
if you were to do this again, what
Yeah.
would you do differently?
Well, I think what I would do is I wouldn't make the reduction, even though it's
Yeah.
amazing.
Mm-hmm.
I would actually add. I would do it more in keeping of the recipe. I would still cook it in the egg. So we're talking about the yellow
Mm-hmm.
cucumber. I'd still cook it in the egg yolks. I think
Mhm.
that worked great.
Mm-hmm.
I think I would cook it longer. I think it could have been cooked
Yeah.
longer.
Mm-hmm.
I think I would have gone the full 2 hours, or at least an hour, hour and 45.
Mhm.
But yeah, I would go like the full 2 hours slow cook,
Mhm.
and then I would add in the verjuice and the saffron, and then I would put it back and reduce it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Things I would change is I wouldn't bother with the gourds.
Oh, that was much tastier than that.
I found that one so much more tastier.
It's very good.
To be fair and to give gourd its due, I should do the egg preparation
Yes.
with the gourd and see how that works. 'Cause
Right.
that is mentioned in here.
Yes.
And then I also want to take some of my standard cucumbers
Mm-hmm.
that are more to the medieval cucumber and take those to the overripe stage
Yeah.
and see how that compares. Because the lemon cucumber is a very distinct flavor.
It does have a very distinct flavor.
And so I'm wondering if some of the brightness and just the sparkle
It tastes like a custard. It really does.
really does.
Yeah.
I don't. Yeah.
And whether or not that's correct, hard to know. We made a dish. We made 2 dishes, and
Mhm. They're edible.
they're edible. I would argue that they would be seen comfortably on a medieval table.
Mhm.
I don't think that there's anything here that people would be like, "What is this?"
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
yeah,
If you wanted to get super geeky about the vegetables,
yes,
you could argue that the lemon cucumber wasn't a thing in the medieval time periods, but because it's in Gerard, there's one that's kind of the citrus cucumber.
hmm
But once you dig down into the descriptions of it, it actually starts sounding more melon-esque than a lemon cucumber.
Okay.
So I definitely have more work to do on that front.
Well, yeah, and as you said about the cooking, trying a different method, that was the problem. It's like there was, cut up the gourd and put it in milk, the white powder, verjuice, or egg yolks.
Yeah.
I said, okay, well, where is the or?
It's the
Is
or.
it milk or? Is everything an or?
Mhm.
So is it just one thing? And I guess it could work.
But the gourds didn't have they were so less liquidy than
Yeah,
the
I
cucumbers.
don't know how we would have been able to cook that.
I think you would need either the milk or the verjuice.
Yes.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I grow things.
I don't think the verjuice hurt it.
No.
No.
Then he was
Even
tasty.
though I felt that, I'm like, oh, that was a choice. When I put it in, I'm like, oh, that's right. Acid will curdle this milk immediately.
Mhm.
But I don't think it hurt it.
No.
Because it's just like, oh, well, it just made a cheese. And I'm like, I can get down with cheese. Yeah. That's why the armored turnips keeps coming in my head. I'm like, yeah, this really reminds me of that.
Which was another one of my key takeaways is I had great hesitancy doing this because I got wrapped up in like the details of the cooking. And with you standing by my side, I felt very comfortable being like, I don't know. Oh, look, it curdled. Oh, well, let's keep going. Like,
not really going to hurt anything.
did we cook it right? We don't know.
We don't know.
Let's try it.
We made 2 dishes. I would argue that we made a white gourd and we have a white dish, and then we made a yellow cucumber and we have a yellow dish, and they would have loved that.
It's very cool. Yeah.
Yeah, they've been like, that is awesome. You can afford saffron. You can afford ginger. Excellent.
And these funky cucumber-y things.
Yeah.
That, takes a little bit more effort to grow in the cool climate of France. Well, in
Yeah.
the northern France. Southern
Yes.
France, there's probably just cucumbers everywhere.
They've been fine. They've been fine. But no,
Awesome.
I success.
Success.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Aha.
Ding.
Ding.
Alright. So, anything else to add?
No, I think people should try this. I think it was fun. Yeah. I think, don't be afraid to try a recipe that, what's the worst that's going to happen? You're going to be out some vegetables and maybe some other ingredients. And look at other recipes that are also using the vegetables. It's like, well, how are they preparing it here? Because if you have something that has literally like 2 sentences, like what we were working with, it was helpful to look at, well, what are some other things that they're doing in this book? Oh, that sounds exactly like what we're doing. Because there was a gourd soup. Same ingredients, pretty similar preparation. And I'm like, oh, I think we're fine. And you're probably not going to kill yourself with what we were using.
No, not with this.
No.
This is safe.
Yeah. So I say you're going to be, anything that you make, you're going to be making to your taste. So if like it's overly gingery, that might actually be more to their taste. It's hard to know. It's like we don't really know what the final finished product was because we weren't there. We weren't eating it. So I think it's okay to experiment and give it a shot.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This
is super fun.
This is awesome.
We get to play with your vegetables
I
and
know.
do all the things. Yay!
And stay socially distant.
And stay socially distant.
Well, socially connected but physically distant.
Correct.
From afar. Yeah.
Correct.
So that was really fun to set up the outdoor kitchen and
Yes.
do this all outdoors.
Yeah.
That was awesome. And then I guess please stay safe. Please get vaccinated if you're not. Wear your masks. And I hope you get some dirt under your fingernails. And I hope you have the rest of a wonderful summer. So, all right, take care, everyone. I'm going to turn it off. Woo! Ta-da!